now joined by former Pro Bowl linebacker, man with big takes, Bart Scott. Hey, Bart, good morning.
What up? Good
How's it going?
I thought we broke up. Thanks for having me back.
Wow.
I'm getting nervous.
You two disagree.
Good to see you. I'm like Sam, you know what I mean? I like the
I told Brian to call you. He butt dialed you. Booty call. Let's go, Bart. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about that AFC showdown.
Butt dial and booty call. Very different things, Steve.
Jags and Chiefs.
Tell them, Nick.
Patrick Mahomes still good, wishes in for the early score to go up 7-0, but also quite human. His first interception of the season. He finished with 2 on the day, 22 of 38 for 313 yards. No passing touchdowns, but not to be outdone. Blake Bortles, Bart, throws a doozy as Chris Jones takes it in for the pick 6. Hold on, because Bortles with 4 interceptions on the day. He's great at interceptions. Chiefs remain undefeated. Bart, we'll start with you. How impressive was the Chiefs win, despite what some would call a pedestrian game from Pat Mahomes?
I mean, I love it because the same thing make you laugh, make you cry. So, Jalen Ramsey essentially called out the entire NFL. And then when Hill came out and made his comments, now he's in his feelings. But that's what happens when you that type of player. It's always somebody that's got their sights on you. And I thought yesterday that Hill, it's so much team speed. And everybody in the AFC are so flawed, where Kansas City has great offense, bad defense. But their defense showed up, and people don't realize how hard it is to play in Arrowhead. I mean, I think they're the only very few teams that still have a band going live. You smell barbecue and dry rub all over the place. And they play with so much emotion. It's almost like a college atmosphere. They walked into a buzzsaw. Then Blake Bortles, they need Blake Bortles to play mistake-free football and also be able to, deliver and score in the red zone. And instead, he turned back to Blake Bortles. He turned back into a pumpkin. And that's what Blake Bortles always does. And that's my biggest concern with this Jacksonville Jaguars team is now that, because you're so brash, you're going to get every team's best. But they ran into a buzzsaw. You gave Andy Reid, and I think what they saw was a team speed on a slow surface where they can continue to be fast on a slow grass surface. You can't be fast as a defense because you don't know where all the holes and the potholes are and all the sprinkler systems.
Oh, that's a great point as far as their speed because given the weather, and Nick had an extensive weather report last week. He did a little Al Roker for us, getting us ready. Let us know it was going to be raining, for the most part, throughout the game. And you talk about that surface, Kansas City. It's not one of the better surfaces, and typically it would negate some of the speed. But this was almost like a playoff game. We're going to be late in December, January.
Yeah.
Man, it's going to be potholes on the field, lumps of grass.
Painted grass.
And they're still very, very fast. And you need to be able to win when your quarterback's not spectacular. And that's what the Chiefs were able to do yesterday. I was watching the game with Nick and everything. I told Nick, this is great. He threw a second interception. Nick was like, oh. I was like, no, that's great. Because the rest of the team is generating confidence. So you start to their secondary started playing better. They still rushed the passer, even though they had a couple guys that were not available at the end of the game. D Ford and another one of their defensive line.
They got a guy kicked out. Chris Jones got kicked out of the game. Alan Bailey, I think they had 2 players ejected. D Ford got hurt, and they were still hitting Blake Bortles up the side of his head. Bortles, the pick we didn't show there, not the pick 6, but the pick Bortles where they were about to score, where he threw it directly into his own offensive lineman's helmet. It should have been illegal touching by the offensive lineman, but I don't know if I've... Yeah, but it is technically because he's the first guy to touch it. But the Bortles was awful. The Chiefs' defense deserves some of the credit, and Blake Bortles deserves most of the blame there. But here's what is encouraging for the Chiefs and confusing for the Jags. Chiefs 30 carries for $126 against that defense. Yannick Ngakoue, Calais Campbell. I said before the game, I thought Mitchell Schwartz might be able to neutralize Calais Campbell. This back-to-back weeks, Mitchell Schwartz has dealt with Von Miller and Calais Campbell and acquitted himself quite well. But if you're the Jags and you, like NBA guys at the press conference, are always looking at the box score. NFL guys don't do this, but I assume in the locker room where at some point they do look at a box score. You got to say, hold up. We ran for 101 on 17 carries. What? And we let Bortles throw the ball 61 times. They were gashing the Chiefs. And I understand the game got away from them, but one of the reasons the game got away from them was because of the Bortles mistakes, the 5 Blake Bortles turnovers. So this was a great win for Kansas City because they're now 3 games up on the Jags.
Right.
Because they're 2 games and a head-to-head tiebreaker. It was a critical win and a dominating win without Mahomes being good.
And we've seen it, Bart. You've been on a part of some teams that their dominant defense can carry them, carry them to an AFC Championship game, can carry them to a Super Bowl. But I haven't seen, in the modern era, a team win a Super Bowl with Blake Bortles. Okay? Trent Dilfer, much respect to my friend, is not Blake Bortles.
Game has changed.
All right? Brad Johnson was not Blake Bortles. And with now being so dependent on the passing game, Jacksonville as a franchise, they have made a critical mistake this offseason, not trying to upgrade their quarterback and trying to rely on that defense in this era where they throw the ball too effectively.
I mean, because I always, at the beginning of the season, I said they should have been one of the people in the contention for
Bridgewater?
Yeah, for Bridgewater.
Yes.
You know, I mean, because, you know, even in the offseason, you should have went out for Eli Manning. You know, I thought they had an opportunity to upgrade the position. They bought in, you know, long term because what he did in the playoffs. But the thing is, you can't trust them. And, you know, when you talk about playing in tight games, what I can have my quarterback do is provide, you know, extra possessions, 5 extra possessions for a team that is so explosive and that, you know, you only can ask your defense to hold on for so long. And, you got speed all over the place. Tyreek Hill, you talk about, you know, Travis Kelce, everybody's getting loose. And then what happens is you start getting killed by secondary pieces. You know, so
Sammy Watkins came back.
Absolutely. You know, smack Ramsey's mouthpiece out of his mouth.
Yeah.
You know, it's never in his mouth, but he got it out of there. And they you know what? They weren't bullied and they weren't intimidated by the moment because they have extreme confidence. Now you have to put an asterisk around the win because no Leonard Fournette changes that game even more because now you can stay more committed to the game. You'll get more explosive runs. But you know, whenever you have a running back, you know, that can get to a top speed, and he has hamstring problems. Those hamstrings linger the entire year. Especially now, he is better because he's playing in a hot place. He's playing in Jacksonville, but whenever they have to leave in December, November, you know, those hamstrings tend to tighten up. He's going to be on the bike. He's going to have a heating pad on, you know, and that's something to watch.
For the second straight year, and I said it last year and people laughed, for the second straight year, the Jacksonville Jaguars are a quarterback injury away from being a contender. That's all they need. They're
Who's the backup? He's gone, right?
Right now, the backup, we looked it up this morning. Cody Kessler. That ain't great. I understand Cody Kessler ain't great, but I do know this, and I'm not going to go third rail on it. I'm just going to mention it.
Sure.
I do know that they had people campaigning for Colin Kaepernick to be brought in last year.
People had talked to Tom Coughlin.
People
had talked to the head coach.
They had talked to the head coach.
Cap was ready to go to
And the head
Jacksonville.
coach wasn't opposed to it. And Tom Coughlin put the kibosh on it. Okay. Yep. All right, enjoy Blake Bortles. And then Cody Kessler, evidently. Enjoy that.
Careful what you wish for, because now they have high expectations, and eventually they're going to have to cash that lottery ticket in, because you think about how much money they have spent. They haven't even addressed Ramsey's contract. They haven't had to address Fournette's contract. So this is their window. They have two or three, maybe 3 more years, because you think about $100 million, you know, Calais Campbell. You think about Malik Jackson. You think about
A.J. Boyer.
Yeah, A.J. Boyer. You know, you only can continue to keep that before you have to recirculate the funds.
Didn't give Cap a look. Now they whole offense in a protest.
I like that, see?
Chiefs now undefeated. Who's the only quarterback left, starting quarterback, that hasn't thrown an interception?
I don't know.
It is Drew Brees. The only one left.
Breezy.
He played me a bit sweet.
How did the Texans shut down Ezekiel Elliott? That's next up for
my gosh.
first.
We were getting ready to get blamed. I thought he was lost.
You thought I was wrong?
No,
You didn't know. But you
I didn't know.
you said I know. Thank you, John.
Who's really close?